Max Verstappen has dominated the season. He's won a second world title and established himself as one of the best.
So with so much at stake and such minimal margins, what is it that creates a Formula One world champion?
We've poured through the data and the video archive to try and find out, and it all starts with the mind. Mental strength and resilience is a crucial part for any elite athlete, but also particularly in Formula One, where there's a microscope on you all the time, from the moment you turn up in practice to the end of the Grand Prix. And there's so much resource, energy and effort that goes in to just 20 drivers in the world taking each other on to try and win races. And it was particularly true for Max Verstappen, who came into Formula One at 17. He'd only done 1 year of car racing before Red Bull snapped him up and put him in Toro Rosso, and there was a huge pressure on him and some criticism of that decision in the first place. He did well, he came over that and got a place in Red Bull the next year, won his first race at Red Bull, but it still wasn't plain sailing, as it never is for any driver. You have to overcome adversity, and you need a real mental toughness to believe in yourself, to dig in and not let the criticism get you down. Otherwise, it can really snowball out of control. Verstappen managed to stop the rot at the start of 2018 after a spate of incidents, got himself ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, and the rest for him at Red Bull is history.
So think about a Formula One world champion and you think of the mindset, consistency, focus, all of that is so key to getting it right. Getting the whole year, bringing it all together along with the team is what's so important to make the points up at the end of the year. Verstappen this year got the championship at the end of round 18. So at that point, Verstappen had 14 podiums out of the 18 that were available to him in order to secure that championship position. 2 of those were DNFs, that were car problems that he couldn't get around. If you look at the other 2, there was the British Grand Prix where he had some debris damage that affected the car pace.
Car's 100% broken.
Okay, Max, can confirm it's bodywork damage, loss of rear. It is not critical.
And then in Singapore, where we had the fuel problem in qualifying.
Box, Max, box.
Why? What the why?
So there's 4 finishes outside the podium that can't be attributed to Verstappen's fault. And that is really key to his consistent running throughout the year in order to get the championship points needed to deliver it together. So thinking just about the qualifying performances that Max has put in over the year, it's been absolutely incredible when you look through the data for it. Every team has a theoretical best lap time, the best that can possibly be got out of that car on any given day. And throughout the year, Max on average has only been 0.06 away from that target lap time. That's meant that for 6 qualifying sessions, he should have been in pole position, and 12 should have been on the front row had it not been for penalties or other issues throughout the sessions. So one element of a world champion that can't be overlooked is his eyes, the ability to take in information and react to it really quickly. One of the areas that we see that Max has excelled in this is through the pit stop time. Now that's a full team environment. All of the crew come and work together, but it's so important that Max gets his part of that role right every single time. From a driver's side, what's involved in a pit stop is stopping on the marks as quickly and consistently as you possibly can, and then reacting to the lights and getting out of the box as safely and quickly as you can. Max hasn't always had the quickest pit stops, the Red Bull team haven't even always had the quickest pit stops, but Max has had the most consistent. So when we look at everybody's pit stop time over the whole year, Max's average is well below everyone else's. That is so impressive from him, and that is part of his ability to do the same thing time and time again. Look at his marks, stop correctly and accurately in the box, and then launch exactly when needed.
The mouth of a Formula One driver is so crucial as well in 2022. And with Max, we've seen plenty of punchy team radio calls from him and to him in his time in Formula One. But when he first got into Formula One, he was very, very snappy and sharp back to his engineers at times.
Okay, we need to swap positions. No! Max, just do it. Okay, Max, you need to let him go now. Swap, please.
Now for some teams, that sort of attitude from a driver would see you shown the door fairly quickly, but crucially for the best drivers out there, they have the talent to back it up, and they can galvanise the team with some bullish remarks that basically maximises their own potential, and that's what the champions would do. On top of this, the mouth, of course, crucial outside of the car as well to galvanise the team and to provide all important feedback. It's more than just a driver driving the car at full speed. You've got to hone the car, you've got to find the setup, you've got to speak to all your engineers and find the right balance and the right strategies for that.
So the mouth of a Formula One driver is so important. The communication that he gives to the team, how it's perceived, that is what sets that car apart from lots of the other cars. We all have loads of sensors on the cars that give us lots of detailed information, but the driver's feedback is crucial. We've seen so many examples with Max giving detailed feedback on what tyre he thinks is the correct and when, and most importantly, why. We've seen it in Zandvoort between the medium and the hard tyre, some really clear feedback for the team, as well as that with the slightly damp start in Hungary, the last minute change of decision for the dry tyre to run for that first stint on the grid. So important, and that feedback and that interaction is key in Formula One, and that's what created the world champion that we've seen in Max Verstappen this year. And all of that communication is two-way. So Max's ear is equally important. The information he receives, how he perceives it, and how he acts on it. We see loads of examples throughout the pit lane. I've worked with examples where you give a driver some information, it's not retained or it's not acted on correctly. So Max is often given very detailed information, sometimes in very high pressured situations, that he needs to act on quickly and accurately in order to get the best from the car or the best from the situation he's in. Can't imagine the high pressure these guys are under when they're racing around the track, and all of that information that they're given is so important. So his ears and the ability to listen is one of the true qualities of a Formula One world champion that we see in Max.
Hands. The best drivers have great car control, and that is why they thrive particularly in the wet conditions. And it's all about how well you can feel the edge of grip, how well you can adapt to changing conditions as well, and keep yourself absolutely on the edge. But if you go over the edge, correct it with a slide. All Formula One drivers can do it to an extent, but the best ones are the ones with the best car control. They can go over the limit and not manage to spin the car, keep it pointing straight, and deliver fast lap times or good overtakes. It's also a skill that Max Verstappen doesn't only show in wet conditions, but when he's feeling out a new circuit, for example. In fact, throughout Max's whole career in Formula One, whenever he's been to a new circuit, his first lap is always in the top 3 in FP1. It's a real skill that he shows, that he's able to deliver straight into a decent lap time. That was evident both this year in Miami, last year in Saudi Arabia, high-speed street circuits where you've got to feel out the grip, but it's also true when he didn't have the fastest car all the way back in his rookie season in 2015 when Mexico was new on the calendar and he topped FP1 in a Toro Rosso.
So Max's ability to use his hands to get that feedback and feel the grip is so important in so many strategy decisions. You mentioned the wet, to be fit to say which tyre we should be on, is it the wet, is it the inter, is it the dry? That sort of feedback's crucial to a team, and that ability to feel the grip and understand where the track is going. As well as that, in the events where you miss an FP1 or an FP2 due to either some sort of car issue or changing conditions like changing track temperature, to get a driver who's straight away on the pace, able to use that first tyre straight away to get the best out of the car is key in everything that we're trying to do. No more than the sprint events that we're starting to bring in, where it's important that you're straight on the pace and get the most out of the car in qualifying. There have been times where, the Red Bull guys have been fit to just do the one run in Q1, make sure they've got the car into the next session and save that tyre for later on in the race, which definitely brings you advantages when you get to race day.
Your core or your body. Now this is a part that I wouldn't traditionally have said was a crucial part of making up a Formula One world champion. But Max Verstappen has shown incredible balance through his career, and it's a really unique trait I think that he's got of basically saving spins or crashes and making them nice 360 pirouettes that he's shown time and time again. It's an incredible skill. Some people can do it by luck, some people get some lucky judgment as well to call it right, but the consistency with which Max has managed to save these spins time and time again. In Brazil 2016, famously up against the wall in the wet, and he went on to finish second place. In Hockenheim 2019, everyone was spinning off, and Max did a nice 360, went on to win. The same in Hungary this year, a nice 360 for Max, and he went on to win Silverstone qualifying this year, another 360. He loves them, and it's something that he does more than most. He doesn't spin very often, but when he does, he has the balance and he has the mindset to manage to use the throttle, the brakes, and feel it all in his body to bring it back round before you even know it's gone wrong. Finally, your feet. Crucial on the pedals, they provide a huge amount of performance of a Formula One driver. First of all, your right foot. It controls the accelerator, and it's got to be just not about mashing it down the whole time, but having that feel for grip. And that's where Max Verstappen is particularly good, and the great drivers before as well have got a great feel for grip, helps them out in the wet, but also off the line. In fact, Verstappen this year doesn't have one of the best reaction times. He's the 7th best reaction time of the field, but his second phase of his starts this year have been the second best, behind only Sebastian Vettel, showing that once he's dropped the clutch in that first phase of the start, the second phase is all then just about squeezing on the throttle as quickly as you can, using the absolute most of the traction, and that's where Verstappen has proved himself very strong, which shows that he's got a great sensitivity on his right foot to feeling how much throttle he can put without spinning up the tyres. And then there's the left foot, the brakes. Another crucial area that sets up pretty much the whole corner. Now, it's not just about braking as late and as hard as you possibly can. In fact, the Ferraris have been the latest on the brakes this year, but maybe because they've had more downforce and not so much straight line speed as the Red Bulls. But when he wants to, he's got the ability to go late and hard on the brakes as well. We've seen it this season with some great out-braking manoeuvres from lower grid positions to winning the race. And he doesn't make a lot of mistakes under braking as well. It's a crucial area, particularly in a qualifying lap or in an out-braking manoeuvre, and it's an easy area where you can just go a little bit deep, lock up a brake, miss an apex, lose a load of time. You don't see too many of them from Max Verstappen. So we've gone through and we sort of figure that the best drivers all have great communication skills, great mentalities as well, and also a feel for the controls.
Yeah, and just as we have done, F1 teams will look at all of these qualities to see what sets apart the great drivers from the very best in the field.
If you put them all together, you get a world champion, just like Max Verstappen.